This is the introduction to Soil Health Part 1, Soil Health Overview. In this video, we'll talk about the current status of soil health, trends projected for the future, traits of healthy soils, and why soil health should be a solution for healing our planet. So what does soil health have to do with the health of our planet and the health of humans? Agricultural practices that degrade soil health can also degrade environmental quality and human health. Agricultural practices that promote and build healthy soils also improve environmental quality and human health. Agricultural as well as urban activities degrade air and water quality when pollutants such as fertilizers, pesticides, animal manure, and sediment enter the air and waterways, for example, streams, rivers, lakes, and groundwater. Approximately 3 to 4 tons of topsoil per acre per year are lost to wind and water erosion in the United States. Agricultural runoff contains excess nutrients and other agricultural contaminants. Waterways pick up pollutants from various sources, which accumulate and move downstream until they eventually reach the ocean. High rates of cancer in New Orleans, Louisiana, which is located at the mouth of the Mississippi River, have been linked to pesticide use throughout the Mississippi River Basin, for example. And we of course use surface water and groundwater in many ways, including for drinking water and to irrigate the crops we eat. Harmful algal blooms are a major environmental problem in all 50 states. Nutrient pollution, as in excess nitrogen and phosphorus from human activities, worsens the problem, meaning more severe blooms more often. Most of the chemical fertilizers applied to soils today end up in waterways, and not where they were intended to end up. You may have heard of the Dust Bowl in the 1930s, when drought and the adoption of tillage practices brought about severe dust storms, as well as major ecological and economic damage in the US and Canada. And the effects are still with us. This is a quote from Timothy Egan from his book, The Worst Hard Time. The High Plains never fully recovered from the Dust Bowl. The land came through the 1930s deeply scarred and forever changed. But in places, it healed. After more than 65 years, some of the land is still sterile and drifting. Soils can both store and lose carbon to the atmosphere. Agricultural practices that disturb soil, for example, tilling, release carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, into the atmosphere, contributing to climate change. Plants absorb CO2 from the atmosphere through photosynthesis to build plant tissues and to feed beneficial microbes in the soil. Because of their soil structure, healthy, undisturbed soils are better at storing carbon than unhealthy, disturbed soils. There also can be negative effects on human health from conventional agricultural practices, whether it's directly from mixing and applying chemicals in fields, for example, or other ways through air pollution, water pollution, and soil contamination. That may lead to things like respiratory illness, cardiovascular illness, or cancer risk. Conventional practices like monoculture can lead to the buildup and spread of pests and disease, which in turn lead to heavy chemical pesticide applications. But there are less damaging and even beneficial farming practices that promote soil health. More diverse cropping or forage, and the resulting biological diversity in the soil, can both promote plant growth and discourage pests. Another soil health-friendly practice is managed grazing, where instead of allowing livestock to overgraze and damage a single pasture, livestock are moved between pastures to allow for rest and regrowth between grazing rotations. Looking to the future, current trends show that by the year 2050, the global population is projected to surpass 9 billion people. These people will be wealthier than ever and will demand more agricultural products, placing even greater demands on soils and undermining the long-term productivity of land. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN has estimated that based on current trajectories, the world only has 60 harvests left, and at the current rate that the US is cleaning up its waterways, it will be 500 years before they're all restored, according to the EPA. So the goal is not to simply slow the rate of soil loss, but to regenerate and build healthy soils. Some of the characteristics of healthy soils include: water is conserved by reducing evaporation, encouraging moisture retention in plants and in the soil. Crops and forage grown on healthy soils require no or very little additional synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. A diversity of plants and the associated beneficial insects discourage weeds and insect pests. Healthy soils are not overgrazed by livestock, and therefore animal waste can be incorporated into pasture soils. Healthy soils are not tilled, or minimal tillage is used. Vegetative cover and plant roots hold soil in place. So moving forward, with a quote from David R. Montgomery in his book Growing a Revolution. The soil is the historical root of American prosperity, the foundation of our country. But since the American Revolution, our nation's soils have lost half their organic matter, half their natural fertility. Policies that promote efforts to rebuild healthy soils offer fertile ground to help restore prosperity to family farms and farming communities. Reinvesting in our soils is a natural infrastructure program, a sound investment in the foundation and future of America. This would not only put a lot of carbon in the ground, it would reduce the environmental damage from agrochemical use and help bring back life to the land and rural communities. Having more people on the land isn't the problem, it's the solution.